Okay, so this is hive number 2, and same thing, we're going to see if we can find swarm cells and or eggs. Now, I might have to have another look in the nuke box because they did not have queen activity either, so might not be a bad idea to give them a frame of eggs also. So looking at the lid, yeah, the queen's not on the lid. I feel like this is going to be a bit of chaos here. Just have that feeling. I need a step. Yeah, I've got a block here that I can stand on so I can see what I'm doing. There's bees on every frame, but it's not super busy. But I gave them a box because the other 2 boxes were packed and they had a lot of brood down below. So my thought is the queen may have moved up to this box to start laying with no room down at the bottom to lay. There's a queen cup there in the middle. It's not charged. And that's just honey and nectar. All right, so again, we're going to scoot along and see what we can find. Because if there's eggs in here, they'll likely be in the middle of the box somewhere. But all of these frames, they've all got some bees on, not super busy, but they do have bees on. That's an empty frame, but it's drawn out wax comb, not the plastic foundation, but the wax foundation. Again, drawn out comb, nectar and honey. It looks like maybe the queen hasn't been up here, but another wax foundation that they've completely drawn out. Be nice if you put honey in there, girls. This one's heavy, so yeah, nectar and honey. So yeah, it doesn't look like there's any queen activity up in this box. So she's down below. Again, another frame. I kind of checkerboarded some wax foundation with comb that was already drawn out. I bought some last night with I bought some last week with, I bought some last year with the intention of making cut comb, but it's not really the right stuff, the right foundation, because it's got wire in it. So I guess for cut comb you don't want the wire in it, but I didn't know that until this year. This is a wax foundation too with wire in it, but it's not like you can pull the wires out from the end. So anyway, again, just foundation, nothing in it. So there's nothing going on up top here. I'm just going to put this one down in there, and then we'll move this box out of the way. It's not too heavy, that one, really, not too heavy. Okay, so nice box of bees. I think my smoker's gone out. It's get some smoke again. All right, so I've got a little bit more smoke again. I put some leaves in there and try to get it going a bit. I use the wood pellets, and usually I don't have issues with the smoke going out, but if you don't puff it, it will go out for sure. Because it needs that airflow to keep going. Okay, let's take an end frame out. We're looking for swarm cells. Hopefully we don't find any queen cells, and if not, then eggs. One frame of eggs to give to hive number 7. There is a couple of queen cups there, but I can't see that they would be charged because they're on a honey frame, so there's no eggs around to give them. A little bit of propolis that's in the way there. See how they're propolizing right here between the frames. You leave them a little bit of space, and that's what they do. They propolize the space. So there's no eggs on that frame. I should leave that one out actually. And there was Swiffer pads on the top box. They're stuck to the inside of the lid, which is what I use to catch small hive beetles. And if you don't really know what small hive beetles are, they're a pain in the neck because they lay eggs in the comb and then they turn to maggots, and then the maggots chew through the honey and the brood and just make a mess. You can imagine what they call a slime out when you get too many of them in there, and that usually will happen with a weak hive, not so much a strong hive. So this year, thankfully, I haven't really had an issue yet. We're into June, so we'll see what happens if we get more of them later on in the year or not. Okay, I don't see any eggs on this side or this side. Looks like there's a couple of little bits of brood down there, but not much. Pretty sure she's a strong laying queen. This is the original queen from the original strong hive, which was split multiple times. And so far only one of those splits has got a new queen. There's basically one hive. Oh, look at this frame of brood there. That's beautiful. Beautiful frame of brood. And on this side is eggs and larvae. So that's nicely laid out. Now I'm looking at the bottom too for swarm cells, which we don't have. I'm not too worried about if I lose a little bit of drone brood. I'm not too worried about that. I just want to get rid of that crazy comb at the bottom, the cross comb, because it does create issues. Like I said, it's where the beetles will hide, and you don't want to give them a place to hide, that's for sure. A little bit more smoke. Well, they're behaving though. They're doing good. They're not too excited. Can't remember which frame I looked at. Gee whiz. Let's have a look at this one. That's brood. Yeah, that was the first frame of brood that I looked at. Second frame, next frame. Doesn't look like brood. No, this is honey and nectar. What, did you split the brood up, girl? I'd be surprised if there's no brood over here. We got one more box at the bottom to go through. There's a full frame of brood and larvae. No queen cells. Full frame of brood again and larvae. So this box is doing good. This hive is doing great. Come on, girls, out of there. They always go under the frame. They get squished there if you're not careful. If I can find eggs, just newly laid eggs. So there's lots of eggs on this frame. I want the newest eggs that they have. These eggs are kind of laying on their side, so they're 2 to 3 day old eggs just prior to hatching. They hatch out on day 3, and then they become little larvae, little C-shaped larvae, and they swim around in a little bit of royal jelly that the bees feed them. And then if it's a queen cell, it gets lots and lots of royal jelly, and if it's a regular worker bee, then they get pollen and honey, bee bread, I should say. Okay, I do see eggs on this side too, so that's a good frame to give them. This one or the next one. Let's look at the next one. Lots of eggs on that frame. This one, see if they're newer eggs on this frame. That's all nectar. And that's all nectar too. So we're going to go back to that previous one. I'm going to mark it because, so I'm going to put an X in the middle. And if we don't find a swarm cell, then we'll come back and grab that frame. Oop. Nectar and pollen. A little bit of comb there. Again, a lot of propolis between frames, which is okay, but it's when it hardens, it gets really sticky. Well, it is really sticky. Then it gets all over your gloves. Can be a bit of a headache for us. But anyway, it's good for the bees because it's antibacterial, keeps the hive healthy. It's part of what keeps the hive healthy. Let's get this last frame just so we can say we looked at them all. Lots of open comb there, they're cleaning up on both sides, so lots of open cells on that side. So there's no need for the queen to want to leave. She's got lots of space. Okay, so we're going to just scoot that on over. Come out of the way. And we'll put that first frame at the other end, which again is just nectar and honey. And we'll put that there. Now what we'll do is we'll take this box off and we'll put it on top of the box that's on the ground here. And if I don't find a frame with swarm cells, if I don't find a cell with swarm frames, if I don't find a frame with swarm cells here, then we can go back to the one with the X on it and give it to hive number 7. Or we can take one from here. If there's a decent frame with eggs down here, we can give them that too. Either or. And either way, it'll be marked and we'll know which one to look out for when we look back into those hives that don't have a queen, to see if they drew out queen cells. We can come back in 4 days or so to check those out and see what the status is. Okay, that's pretty good. So I'm going to take this end frame out, give us some room, because usually there's no eggs on this outside frame. It's always honey and nectar. Oh, that's stuck in there pretty good. Lots and lots of bees. Wow, yeah, lots of bees. Let's just set that there for a minute. A little bit of crazy cross comb, a little bit. We'll get that out of the way because it's just in the way. Now there is a queen cup there. I highly doubt there's an egg in it because it's amongst pollen. See, there's nothing in there. Okay, and we're going to move along and try to look at every frame as quickly as we can. Lots of bees are in the way. We got to see if there's any cause for concern. I don't think there will be because of the amount of splits that I did, but you never know. A whole frame of beautiful pollen. Which is good for their babies, their brood. On this side, there's brood, and she's backfilled where they've emerged from. Lots of milk brood down at the bottom, larvae in the middle, and then cat brood toward the top. A little bit of crazy comb up here. Let's cross comb. Really should melt some down. I've got quite a bit that needs to get melted down now. And I seem to remember one frame in the swarm box that needed some additional wax. Come on, girls, out the way. Additional wax on 1 or 2 of their frames. Okay, put that one back in. Nice warm day again today. It's about 30 degrees. Lost track of what day it is actually. June 7th or 8th, I forget. I'll put it in the description. Look at that full frame of brood. That's awesome. There's a brand new baby bee right there. She's a brand new baby, just hatched, just emerged. You see where they're white like that? Nice pale white bees. I'll put that back in. They're not buzzing me at all, really. There's a few around, but not too much. They're behaving nicely. A nice frame of brood, again, backfilled with pollen around them, so there's lots of food for the babies. And the same on this side. No real queen activity down here, not too much queen activity down here. So she's obviously up in that second box. Put a bit more smoke on them. Smoke them down. Also, I find they're a little bit louder in here now. They know their queen's not there. I'm sure she's up in that second box. Brood and pollen, no eggs. Lots and lots of pollen, a little bit of older brood. There's a bee emerging right here. Right there you can see a bee emerge. She's coming out of the cell right there. There she comes. There's a brand new baby bee. I think that's the first time I've got a decent bit of footage of a bee emerging. Yeah, that 2 inches, 2 or 3 inches at the top here where the frames meet. The bees like to get in there, and then they get crushed if they're not careful. And they're not. So unfortunately, there's quite often they climb underneath the tab or between the tabs. Bit of milk brood in between the pollen. Open comb. What's down at the bottom here? It's not queen cells. It looks like it, but it's just a little bit of crazy comb. Nothing to worry about. Nothing charged. No peanuts. So you see a peanut hanging. When you see a peanut hanging, that is a queen cell. And they make practice cups near the top of the frames. They make emergency cups in the middle of the frames, which means there's an issue with their current queen. And if they're too packed in the hive, they'll make swarm cells down at the bottom of the frames. And they all look like peanuts hanging compared to pretty much flat worker brood. And the little bullets here that you see sticking up, that's all drone brood. There's no eggs on this frame. Plenty of drones, lots of workers. This here is kind of flattish brood. It's worker brood. You can see the difference between these and these. You can definitely see the difference, and there's a little bit of drone brood at the very top of the frame too. Ah, we just got stung on the finger. The one thing about these gloves is they can sting me through the leather, which I've never noticed with the other pair I had. So it's a good idea to smoke where they stung me because of the alarm pheromone that's given off. When they sting, they release an alarm pheromone which the other bees could react to. And if they react to it, you could get stung multiple times. And the more you get stung, the more alarm pheromone is released. And it could be a bad situation, but honestly, I've never really had an issue with it. I get the occasional sting. It doesn't really bother me too much. It has that initial sting burn effect, but then it goes away within seconds, and then sometimes you get an itch for a few days, but it's not a terrible itch. I quite like it. And they say it's good for you. They say there's a bee sting therapy. I'm not quite sure how many stings you would need to have any kind of therapeutic reaction. I would imagine one sting's not going to do a whole lot. I'm sure that there is some science there to that, but I don't know what it is. Maybe somebody else knows. If you know, throw something in the comments. what do we got here? I'm looking at every single frame. There is no swarm cells. I haven't seen a swarm cell. So we are going to end up going back to that frame. This is all nectar. Nectar and pollen. We're going to go back to that middle box and grab that frame that I put an X on. Okay, last frame. We're going to look at the last frame so we can say we looked at every single frame. Haven't seen any issues with wax moth. Now wax moth, they tend to get into the frame, into the comb, and you'll see a straight line through the comb of webbing. And again, they'll just cause havoc. So this is a frame likely from last year that they've been cleaning up and they're working on filling, or they're using the liquid that was in it, the nectar that was in it, and that's okay. The bees are allowed to have some as well. It's not all about honey production for me. If I get a bucket of honey, I'm happy. I get a lot of people requesting honey from me, friends and family and people at work. And because there's no eggs on this, it doesn't really matter. This is kind of like a honey box down here with a little bit of brood. Okay, let's push that one down. Okay, and we'll smoke them again. So when you smoke them, they think it's a forest fire. So what they do is they go down into the frames and they gorge themselves on honey in case they have to take flight and move location. That's what the bees are doing when you smoke them. Right, so this is the frame that I want. And do you remember that frame that I took out that I put in the shed? We're going to replace it with that. If I hadn't have put that in the shed, there'd be bees robbing that right now. It would have caused an issue. So the longer you leave honey frames or whatever out in the open, it can create an issue. So let's just double check. Yes, there's eggs on this frame. Just looking again for the queen. She could be on this frame, but I'm not seeing her. Not seeing her. If there's a few bees on this frame when I put it in the other hive, I'm not too concerned because they're likely nurse bees anyway. I'm putting that in the sunshine over there just for a few minutes, grabbing that frame from the shed. And what I'll do is I'll move these over. Try to smoke them down again because they're in between the frames. Okay, and then this frame, I will put in the end, fill in that gap. And then we'll put the top box on. We'll put the lid on. We have 2 Swiffer pads to go on the top, one there and one at the other end under there. Now the entrance, or the top entrance, is facing the back, and the lid can go on. Telescoping cover, and we're done. That is hive number 2. They have a queen, they have lots of brood, they have lots of pollen, eggs, larvae, milk brood, and we've taken a frame from the middle box of eggs, and we're now going to put that into hive number 7.